sounds good. All right, so we're back here on the Luling Eagles sports broadcast. So this is going to be my second Zoom interview of the day. Right now we have Rodney Rodriguez from Revved Up ATX and 104.9 The Horn in Austin. Rodney, how you doing this morning?
Eric, doing well, man. How about yourself? You staying cool these days?
Yeah, sure is. I guess let me give you a second here. Show you I'm here. Of course, we in our press box location here at Luling High School in the Eagle Stadium. But let me give you a quick peek. We got a pretty good crowd outside. If you can see that for our scrimmage this morning, and that's what we're here for. And we just figured while had this scrimmage going on, I'll have you on while you're here, and we got all these people around here and such. So I just said, well, get some interviews lined up. And I reached out to you and I asked you, and you said, yeah, sure. Let me jump on before I have my Revved Up ATX show, and I'll let you talk about that here in a minute. I did want to ask you, where the Sarge, Emilio Sarge Juarez, is a big part of the Luling Eagles sports broadcast. We all know that pretty much how we got started was because of Emilio the Sarge Juarez. And I know Emilio the Sarge Juarez a little bit. You want to talk a little bit about the relationship you have with Sarge?
Yeah, we're both there from Lockhart, so it's kind of one of those things. He says it well. You're always going to have the Lockhart tie right there, and I really applaud Emilio for what he's started there, because it goes a long way. It's streaming and everything that we do nowadays. We've done it for a long time, but these days it's really a way to keep everybody engaged and to keep the community engaged. Even yourself right there in Luling. I think it's more impactful there in smaller towns, because it is all about community. That's really what high school sports is. Winning and losing is one thing, but the life lessons and just the community input and the community involvement, that's really for parents, for students, administrators, everybody. It's just a great thing what Emilio's doing there for Lockhart, and I'm glad to see it. I'm really glad to see it.
Yes, sir. And like I said, he came and got us started down here. I know I'll never forget, Rodney. He reached out to us on Facebook, and us meaning the Luling community, and it's like, well, do we have any kind of broadcasting, for high school sports? And I'm like, are you kidding me? We don't have anything like that. We're not picking up, and we're not, we don't do, we're just we don't have the equipment. We don't have anything. Where are we going to start?
Yeah.
And then his next question, I'll never forget. His next question was, "Do you want to start one?" I was like, "Oh, well, wait a minute. Now we got a little bit different question here." So I can remember, like it was yesterday, and of course it's been a couple of years now. I reached out to the administration that was here at the time, and I said, and some of the community members, you mentioned community also, and I said, hey, what can we do about this? And then they're like, oh, well, he's willing to broadcast these games, and football games. It started out, and then we of course expanded to other sports, and then it's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So, and it was one thing led to another, and then the rest is history, and and here we are today.
The thing about it, I think what folks don't realize is, you see the finished product. People are maybe watching this, or they'll watch a game. Everybody's ready for the first game of the year. They'll watch that, but it's a lot of time. It is a lot of time that's involved, with this. Whether it be, setting up. Lord knows we're reliant on the internet. So, or on Wi-Fi, so there can be problems there. So you're constantly having to make sure that everything's working right. And you do a game this Friday, everything's fine. You do a game next Thursday, and it all goes to hell. But it's a lot of time. And I know that the funny thing is, where a lot of people would come to me when I first started broadcasting high school football, it was like, oh, that's got to be a great job. You got to be just making a lot of money doing that, right? I'm like, yeah, a lot of money. A lot of money, man.
Well, Rodney, you and I both know, and I know Sarge knows it too. We don't do it for the money.
Absolutely. That's
If
the
that was the
furthest
case,
thing.
we would be in big trouble.
We'd have been out of business a long time ago. If that was the
Yes,
case.
sir, for sure. So, talk a little bit about your. I know your show there on the Horn. I know your first love. I mean, I know you have a love of high school sports like we all do, but your first love is auto racing. I know. So, talk a little bit about your show and when it comes on and where people can find it, and then what they can expect when they tune in.
Yeah, Revved Up ATX is just it's a variation of another show called Revved Up Sports Show. And the Revved Up Sports Show is actually an online show. Same thing. I mean, it started as an audio show, and one day I set up an old iPhone and we did video, and it just exploded. And I mean, now it's the Monday show has gone into a full-fledged production. I mean, it's like it's in a studio. I mean, it's ridiculous. But luckily with that, I had been involved over at actually at Coke FM for a little bit, and they started asking. Somehow somebody figured out about Revved Up, and they were like, "Hey, how about a Saturday morning show?" I'm like, "Let's do." Aaron Hogan is actually the one. Aaron Hogan, I mean, gave me a break. I mean, he had no reason to do that whatsoever. It's a funny story because he asked me about doing a show, and I said, "Hey, I'm actually going to be broadcasting Lake Travis and Hayes." His son was at Hayes at the time. I said, "Why don't you come out to the baseball game? We'll talk about it." So he comes out, sits down, starts broadcasting with me. I'm like, "Oh man, that's weird." So we get done with that, and I'm like, "Let's talk about the show." He's like, "No need to talk about it. Let's start this week at noon or whatever it was." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, but like your jaw just drops on the ground.
Yeah. So Saturday mornings at 11 to noon, and I mean, that show's doing extremely well. We got a sponsor now. It's presented by AMM Collision, so it talk about NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar racing, but more the national stuff. The Monday show is more local for folks around here, but hornfm.com, the Horn app, 1049, 1019, AM 1260.
Right.
So check it out. It's good stuff.
Yes, sir. And I've tried to get all these people on our broadcast network educated about the Horn, because just how wonderful the Horn is. You and I both know. And like you mentioned, Aaron Hogan, I know he's built it up a lot. I know that now Chad Hastings is a program director there. And so now he's keeping it going. And Chad's, I mean, I know, I think the only people at the Horn that I have not met is Casey Studdard, Ashley Camrath, and those folks. But I think pretty much everyone else I've met, and maybe Bob Ballou. I haven't met Bob Ballou personally, but you, Tyler Campbell, Colonel Flowers, and all the weekday guys, of course I know all of them. So wonderful people. So Rodney, let me ask you, I know because you are from Lockhart. For people that don't know, you are. I think you mentioned it earlier that you're Lockhart, Caldwell County. You let people know you're Caldwell County proud, and so are we. Here in Luling. What have you heard so far? I know probably Sarge could speak a little bit better to this because he covers them extensively now. But what do you know about the Lockhart Lions this year? What you can expect? I know that what I saw in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Happened to have one here that my colleague Brad Wright brought with him. And, I noticed that we all, and I mean by we, I mean our team, the Lockhart Lions and the Gonzales Apaches, all within about, 45 miles of each other. We all have one thing in common. We're all picked last in this magazine for this coming season. So what are your thoughts on the Lions?
When you said thoughts on Lockhart, I'm like, other than that they're supposed to be last. No, I swear I did not realize that we hadn't won a district title since 1971. I did not know that. I thought that there had been one in there somewhere, but it's tough, man. For Lockhart, it seems like they always get when realignment. I mean, realignment is just not good to Lockhart. It's a gauntlet, man. That's
it really is. You're right. Correct. When you're talking about teams like, what do we have? Kerrville, Tybee, and I think Valdy. I'm not sure. Bernie Champion.
Coach Amato sent me the schedule. when it came out, and I mean, I wasn't trying to be an ass or anything. I replied back to him, and I'm like, 0-10. I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's just,
right.
it seems like what I see with Lockhart lately is one of two things. Either you're incorporating a new staff, which I don't know. I think that's happening again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
It's either that, or you have, and this is where it's tough. And I think that, again, this goes back to high school sports is so different now. And for me, when I came up here to Williamson County and to Austin, I was shell shocked to see what happens here. I mean, it's the small towns. It's so tough because Lockhart, for example, if you really look back on them the last 10 or 15 years, there's one or two really, really good athletes on those teams, on those football teams. And then the rest just isn't there. I mean, you're trying to plug and play, and you've got one workhorse. And that, I mean, that makes it easy for a coaching staff over on the other side, because it's like, okay, we have to stop, whoever the running back is, or if you've got a really good quarterback, okay, if we lock him down, if we're going to put a spy on him, we can contain that. And it seems like that's always a struggle with Lockhart. There's just not enough pieces in place for them. And I don't know, man. It's I would love to see, like where you talk about Luling, Gonzalez, man, with this SEC thing that we're watching, man, I would love to see, like, if we could get Elgin, Lockhart, Luling, Gonzalez. Let's get that bunch together like it used to be. I mean, but I know that's all different now. But
exactly, yes, sir. Well, I know that you talked about. I do believe that Lockhart still has their head coach. They may have had some turnover in their assistants, but the coach Todd Mavis is their guy right there. But we here in Luling, we did have a turnover at the top. We have Nate Langford here now. He comes to us from Seguin High School, was there for the last 4 seasons as defensive coordinator. And, you're talking about, you could just see the change when he came on board. This community has just taken him and accepted him, and he's embraced the community's embraced him. And I mean, it's just a different day here. You see, I mean, when I showed you, I don't know how much of that you could see a while ago, but there's quite a few people out here for the scrimmage this morning. So, which is a wonderful thing to see, and I know he's big. You mentioned earlier about community, Rodney. He's big on community. He's really big on that. He wants the community to be involved. He wants the community to, to help out where they can, and that kind of thing. So really, really important, that you mentioned there about the community. So
I think you guys there, I mean, honestly, not to compare the two, but sort of to compare the two. I think you guys in Luling are in a much better position, to be honest with you. I mean, just because of that right there. I think it's like you guys have, like, I mean, you're saying it right there. You've got new breath in the program. You've got excitement, and the thing is, this really starts. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a coach, and what I figured out was, yeah, varsity level, that's great, but man, this starts at 7th grade. I mean, you start building that program, and that's what you have to do, and that's what I see with these bigger schools. I mean, Lake Travis, for example. I mean, you sit there and you watch them, man. Middle school, they're doing stuff that you're going to be doing on Friday nights, and I think that's what's in place there. And with you guys with the stadium, I mean, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
That is a beautiful place, man. That's a gorgeous facility.
Yes, sir. And a lot of taxpayer money went into it, but well worth it. Like you mentioned, this is actually our 2nd year. Of course, last year being the first year of this turf stadium that we have now, but we didn't really get to enjoy it very much because of, we all know, COVID. So, but we did have 3 games last year. Didn't win any of them, but we're on a big losing streak right now. But I know that Coach Langford, and I'm looking at him on the field right now, he's big in trying to turn this thing around and get it going. I will mention, Rodney, because when he came in, one of the things he could have done was a clean house, and he could have brought in an entirely new staff of folks. Now, while he did bring in some new staff members, he for the most part kept the staff that was here in place already, which I think is really important for the kids, because there's that continuity there, even though, the head man's different, and it's just a different attitude there. But a lot of the position coaches and such are going to be the same folks that were already here. So it's not a matter of the kids getting to know, not only are we getting to know a new athletic director, but it's a whole new, everyone, every whole new coaching staff and everything.
Yeah.
But
That's
like I said, I'd say probably he does have, I'm going to say roughly 4 or 5 new coaches, but there's about 6 or 7 that held over, and stayed, and I remember talking to him when he first got to Luling. I talked to him out at one of the Little League games that we're having. And, he was out there, you mentioned about community, and he was out there to support the CFPO, which that, I have to say, Rodney, we have never had a coach that I can remember in at least 30 years, let me say, maybe longer, that was ready to reach out to the community from day one. He was out there and doing the CFPO, supporting CFPO, and I visited with him, and he told me some of the plans he had. He said, he was going to visit with kids, and he was going to try to recruit some of the kids that had left the football program, bring them back, and then, everything he told me that day that he was going to do, he's done, and what more can you ask from a new, new man in charge than for him to do what he's going to say and say what he's going to do, and that's exactly what he's done. And when you were saying that a while ago about Lake Travis, for example, and then also Westlake, I think I put Westlake in that category too, is that that's why he's out there at CFPO. Matter of fact, they did a camp a week ago, earlier this week, with the CFPO kids. They were involved, and so were the CFPO coaches. I mean, there again, like you said, Rodney, that's where it starts. It starts, at the young age. That's why Westlake is who they are. That's why Lake Travis is who they are, because they start them young and they, keep them going all the way throughout. And it's like, well, I don't know Coach Langford until I get in the 9th grade. Well, it's not like that. I know Coach Langford when I'm a little bit taught about that high. And then, by the time I get there, it's like Coach Langford and I have been really, really good friends. And then we've grown together, and we're going to see where this thing's going to go. So, in the first year, will we do a lot? Maybe not. But, we'll just settle for winning the game right now, because we haven't even won
and that's and it is. I mean, it has to be that sort of formula where and probably, I mean, being very transparent, I mean, probably one of the reasons that he's wanting to be so involved with the community is you're going to stumble out of the gate. I mean, that you're going to struggle a little bit, but you stay, and it helps so much. And this is one of the things I see at Lockhart, where you run into a little bit of a problem or whatever it is, and boom, I mean, the community, the parents, everybody's, livid, upside down about whatever's going on, whether it be the head coach or the athletic director, or, my kid's not getting to play enough or whatever. But
exactly.
But when you get in like that, and you truly are a part of the community, I don't want to say it buys you time, but it really helps if you're going to struggle. But I really think that there with Luling, it's a winning culture. I think the culture is there for winning, and I think it's just going to be a matter of time. And I think 2 or 3 years down the road, you're going to look back at this and be like, wow, the 20 and 21 were years that set the table for what's coming forward. But the tricky part will be when you get, because I see this at a lot of schools too, when you get Luling on track and you get Luling winning, 6, 7, 8 games a year, then you got to hold on to your coach, because everybody's going to see what he did.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's going to see what he did, and they're going to.
We don't want him to leave, but 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 like you said, that's the problem you run into, right? Especially in these, like, we're a 3A school, so that's a problem you run into a lot in a smaller floor, say 4A and below, let's say, is that you said they get successful, and then these 5A and 6A programs come calling, and maybe even 7A, I'm hearing, it may be for too long, be a 7A here in Texas. So definitely agree with you there. Ronnie, before I let you go, really quickly mention about, you do some broadcasting there in Austin for the folks that might be watching this that maybe are in and around the Austin area. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, on the Horn app, if you go to the Horn app or hornfm.com, with the IHS Fan Webcast Network, and that's something that Rick Epstein and I started a couple of years ago. And it's a great platform. We've got, I think this year we're up to 10 schools, and we're super excited this year because we've got all of the Round Rock ISD schools. So every one of them will be on the app right there. I'll be primarily on, again, year number, I think, oh man, since 2010. Wow, that's a long time with Westwood, Coach Anthony Wood and Westwood. So I'll be back out on those calls again, and then kind of jumping over doing some radio games and all of that. But just great schools. We're excited. We've got LBJ is in the fold. We did an LBJ playoff game last year. Rough ending to that one, but LBJ's back, or LBJ's in. We've got Austin High. We're losing Brad Kellner. I think.
Yeah. So sad to hear about that.
Yeah, but we've got another Brad that will replace him.
Okay.
But and then all of our Round Rock schools. Anderson High's back. It's a super exciting year. We're really looking forward. We'll broadcast every game that's going to be played at Dragon Stadium and at Kelly Reeves Athletic Complex. So it's going to be a really big year for us.
That's wonderful. So for those of you folks that might be watching this that are a little further to the north of us, and right there where Rodney in his neck of the woods, definitely check him out, and and check out the Horn app for sure. That's a go-to app for not just for the high school sports, but also for just people that want to listen to the daily shows, weekend shows. If you don't catch them live, they are podcasted, so you can find the podcast on there as well, or you can find them on SoundCloud also.
Yeah.
So,
and we joke about it. That Horn app is great because our signal's horrible. So
that's what I hear. So I know that when I first got into it and I was listening and I was having that issue, right? You're from this area, so you're familiar with how it works. And it's like, well, how can I listen? And it's like, well, we got this Horn app, and it's like, let me go download that right now. So so pretty much the way I tune in from here in Luling is either with the Horn app or through the Alexa.
That's right.
Here, so I'm about everyone else.
That's right.
So just one way or the other. This smart speaker, let me say this. Any smart speaker will pick it up. So
that's right.
Rodney, I'm gonna let you go then, but I thank you so much for coming on with me, taking a little time out of your busy schedule. I know you got this morning you mentioned 11 to noon for folks that want to tune in on the Horn app and 104.9 FM if it's terrestrial radio, or hornfm.com also. So thank you again, Rodney. And let me ask you one before I let you go. I'm going to see Sarge a little later because I'm going to do his preseason show later on this afternoon. So do you have any words of wisdom or hellos you want to give to Sarge?
Man, just tell him to keep fighting, man. Tell him and to you too, man. Just keep up the good fight. And man, I just love what y'all are doing, because it does get hard. I mean, I'm not that far away from y'all. I mean, it's only 45 miles or whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
But it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up, and to be able to jump over and see you guys just doing stuff right there. It's awesome. Yeah. Tell Emilio, man, you want to talk about a servant, that's a servant right there. Cause he's doing a great service to a lot of people.
And not only that, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with it around here. He is he has military background. Right. So I mean, he gets it honest. I think that's what you're getting at. So like I said, again, Rodney, thank you so much. And you're always welcome here. Anytime you want to come up here, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, we might have to talk about it with some people, but I mean, I'll fight for you. So don't worry about that. So you're always got a place here. You come down and visit you got some family, I believe, still in Lockhart. So you come down and visit sometimes. So definitely check us out, man. And again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely, man. Keep up the good fight, my brother. I'm proud of what y'all are doing.
Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate that. You have a good day.
Take care. All right, man.